Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and this guy right here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight we're going to talk to you about day 9. Karen Reed trial. The Canton police, they failed crime scene investigation 101, and boy did they fail miserably. Ed, I know you got a chance to review Lieutenant Gallagher's testimony from today. We saw it last year. We shook our heads and we did videos and talked about it, but it got
You shut your mic down.
I know. I don't know why it keeps doing it, but it got worse today, Ed. So I wanted to go to you just basically for an overview, and then we'll go to the little piece that we're going to play for our audience.
Well, after watching the testimony today from Lieutenant Gallagher, and I was rushed to the emergency room to have my head reattached surgically because I couldn't believe what I was hearing and what I was witnessing, and the fact that the prosecutor put this, I don't even know what to call him, to put this forensic fool on the stand. Well, he's not even a forensic fool. I don't want to give him that credit at all right, because he didn't know what he was doing forensically, but he was so proud of himself. Look what I did. And he's videotaping with the snow blower. I mean, the leaf blower. And he was so proud that he got the red solo cups, that he didn't know anything about the integrity of the solo cups and its ability to safeguard the evidence that he was about to pull it in. And he was so proud about the Stop and Shop bag because he doesn't know the difference between a Stop and Shop bag and a forensic paper bag. Oh my God.
And it was he was being arrogant about the leaf blower. He said, and I don't know if these are his exact words, but he said it worked magnificently or fantastic. He used one of those words, but
it worked fabulously.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, are you kidding me? And the demonstration you showed that you were blowing potential trace transfer evidence everywhere and contaminating whatever was on the ground into the blood that was there that you were so concerned about.
The thing that gets us the most aggravated about this, folks, is this is police officer John O'Keefe. This is a police officer who laid dead on the front lawn of 34 Fairview. And this lieutenant, under cross-examination and under direct examination from the prosecution, acknowledged that he knew it was John O'Keefe there. He was notified because John O'Keefe's body was removed before he got there. He was notified by his sergeant that was a Boston police officer, and they still went forward with this rinky-dink investigation. Ed, it really just makes me very sad as a professional police officer working in the largest police department in the United States and seeing guys like you out there, our crime scene unit, our evidence collection teams, and the way that we process any crime scene, whether it's a cop, whether it's a regular, everyday person, we process those scenes. Ed, I'll let you take it. How do we process these scenes?
There are forensic standards. Okay, first of all, they failed criminal investigation 101. Okay, just from the initial response, our patrol officers would have came there, looked at John O'Keefe's body, looked at his injuries, immediately called the detective squad and saying, "Hey, we don't know how this guy got here. He's got what appears to be blunt force trauma injuries to his head. He's got all kinds of wounds on his arm, and he is fighting for his life right now." So we classify this as a possible assault, victim likely to die, at which point the detectives go out there and they notify the crime scene unit and we respond. Yeah. Okay. And, this guy, they didn't know what they were doing here. They didn't articulate what was at the scene properly to the state police, who had better resources and capabilities than they did. Okay. I have these books behind me. I don't know if you can all see these books. And then, Ron, has a copy of my book. Okay. Here's the 5th edition of my crime scene investigation book. All
mine
right.
isn't even signed, ladies and gentlemen. I want to tease you guys a little bit, but mine is signed.
Okay. Nowhere in these books will you find forensic red Solo cups, forensic Stop and Shop bags, and forensic leaf blowers. And I should send that lieutenant, but he's retired now, so he doesn't need it.
Thank God he's retired. Thank God he's retired.
A copy of my book on how to manage crime scenes, because he don't know jack shit.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's so proud of himself. He did a great job. Okay. Oh my God. I was beside myself listening to this stuff. You know, my blood pressure must have shot up through the roof. I had to get another beta blocker and lower my blood pressure.
And the sad part is that John O'Keefe's family, police officer John O'Keefe, his entire family, you know, excluding his dad, I didn't see his father there again today. His family is sitting there listening to this, and it just blows my mind. Let's go over a little bit of an overview. We're not going to get into the 6 witnesses. Well, 5. There was a total of 6, but the first 5 witnesses: a forensic scientist, Brian Nagel, his ex-girlfriend Heather, and then Sarah Levinson, who's an RN, who says she never saw the dog ever out of 20+ visits to the house, and then Katie McLaughlin, EMT firefighter, who responded to the scene. Let's listen to this overview quick.
Let's get now to the latest in the retrial of Karen Reed. It was a wide-ranging day as the trial entered its 3rd week.
We had emergency response personnel to people in the house to at the house, how evidence was collected. NBC 10's Eli Rosberg covering it all for us, joining us live outside the courthouse in Dedham tonight. Eli.
JC, a full day of testimony here. Several prosecution witnesses taking the stand, including a paramedic firefighter testifying that Karen Reed told her, quote, "I hit him." In those frantic first few minutes, the day ending with a now retired police lieutenant testifying about how he processed evidence at the scene.
She answered with a series of statements that she repeated. I hit him. I hit him.
The 3rd week of the Karen Reed trial continuing with another first responder. Katie McLaughlin, a Canton paramedic and firefighter, telling the jury what she remembers of those early morning hours of January 29, 2022.
She repeated, I hit him, and a police officer asked her, said, you what? And she repeated it again, I hit him.
I want to just point out quickly, and I'm not going to just break down this whole 3-minute overview, but Katie McLaughlin made the statement that she said, I hit him 4 different times and in front of a police officer. But at no time during the first trial or as of now in this trial has any police officer said that they heard Karen Reed say that. And Alan Jackson went one step further. When he was crossing her, Katie McLaughlin, Ed said, if a police officer heard Karen Reed said, I hit him, why didn't I see my client in handcuffs? He asked her that specifically. So interesting. That was an interesting part, and it's not going to be what we're going to get into here today, but Alan Jackson set this thing up great for the jurors who are listening intently. You know, the jurors are the fact finders. They're the ones that are going to make the decision. Not me, not Ed, not you, not any of us. It's the jury that's going to make the decision at the end. And I think up until this point, the defense is really giving much reasonable doubt here. A lot. Ed, go ahead.
Ron, 2 quick points on that, and then we move on. The officer that was there in the videotape next to her, he testified he never heard that. He never saw it. And she impeached herself, and she impeached the other firefighter who was in the back of the ambulance, who said he heard her say, I hit him. But she testified today the doors to the ambulance were closed when she said that. So, and the ambulance was running, and there's no way he could have heard that.
Right. Hey, I just want to say quickly, I saw in the chats people saying hello to attorney Melanie Little. I apologize if I didn't see her. Hi, Melanie. Her coverage is second to none. She goes right from the beginning to the end every day. So you guys know, I don't need to tell you, Attorney Melanie Little, she doesn't F around. She has got no quit, right? She's there every day, and she's covering this trial from beginning to end and has been on it from very early on. So hi, Melanie, if you are here. I'm sorry that I didn't see you.
Hi, Melanie. I see you. I was so frustrated today because I had to do some secret squirrel work this morning, and I have to do it again tomorrow. So I wasn't able to be on to watch the whole trial as it was going live.
There she is. And listen, like I said, she is at this every day. She doesn't I've even seen Attorney Melanie Little live from a hotel room when she's away with her daughters or away doing stuff, mom stuff, right? So she has been in the courtroom in the first trial, was there one day at least. She's, again, somebody, if you want to see this and see an attorney's commentary on a regular basis, that's the place to be. Let's let the rest of this rip, Ed, and then we'll get right into this Lieutenant Gallagher nightmare.
Reed is on trial, charged with hitting her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Monday's testimony starting just as Friday's ended, with a forensic scientist from the Mass State Police Crime Laboratory. From there, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan calling several people who arrived at the house on Fairview that night.
Did you ever see any man ever enter or stand in that front door?
No, I did not, sir.
And then this afternoon, retired Canton Police Lieutenant Paul Gallagher taking the stand. Gallagher testifying it was his idea and him using this leaf blower at the scene the next day to look for evidence.
I wasn't going to miss anything with a leaf blower, much better control.
And then Reed's attorney grilling Gallagher on the Stop and Shop bags used as evidence bags and the red Solo cups that were used to collect that evidence.
I asked for plastic or glass containers. He had Solo cups, and I utilized them.
The same kind of Solo cups that we all see at backyard barbecues.
Yep, they hold liquid terrifically.
After court, Reed leaving without talking.
No comment today, guys. Excuse us. Excuse me. Sorry.
And so you see, Reed, they're not saying much as things wrapped up around 4 this afternoon. Remember, prosecutors, her attorneys, not allowed to talk by an order by the judge. Meanwhile, Gallagher is scheduled to be back on the stand when things resume here in the morning. Live in Dedham, Eli Rose.
And I anticipate that Alan Jackson will continue to rip him a new a-hole because he's got so much to talk about. Lieutenant Gallagher was last on the stand today. And, the prosecutor made him go over his history, his law enforcement training. Ed, I know you listened quickly to it, but I think we need to quickly go over this. But before we get into it, Ed, you have 6 pages of notes. Anything that stands out for you as it pertains to how this scene was processed, if you could even call it that?
I have 14 pages of notes. All right. This watching the leaf blower again in that last news clip it's enough to give me PTSD. Okay. This guy is a forensic nightmare. Okay. But he's a prime example of how a little knowledge is dangerous. All right. Because somehow he got it in his mind that he can do what I do, or he knows how to do what I do. All right. But that's far from the truth. Okay. No, first of all, crime scene 101 failed. Okay, what are they? Investigation 101. Okay, failed. They couldn't identify these wounds to his head as something suspicious requiring a crime scene investigation. All right, they didn't know what it was. So if you don't know what it was, then you treat it to the highest standard. The highest standard is you treat it as a potential assault or a homicide in this case, right? He wasn't dead yet. John died at 7:50, I believe it was the time. But this guy, Lieutenant, self-dispatched because no one ordered him to go there. But he said, that his supervisor wants him to do these things. So he got in his private car with his private pop-up 8x8 tent. That thank God he didn't use that because there's no integrity to the contamination that could have caused because we don't know how it's been kept and where it's been kept, how has it been cleaned, any of that stuff. All right. And then he said, I got a brilliant idea. I'll send the sergeant back to go get the leaf blower. Instead of sending the sergeant to go back to the command and get into where the evidence is locked, the evidence collection equipment is locked up to get it. He, solo cups. Does he know anything about the integrity of the solo cups? Does he know that they're not contaminated, or he doesn't know any of this? He got them from another lieutenant that lived across the street. I mean,
that lieutenant happened to be the commanding officer of the detective squad.
Right.
That's what freaks me out about this, is that if the commander of the detective squad, and he called Kevin Albert, that's Brian Albert's brother, the homeowner of 34 Fairview, the greatest detective we have in Canton. And that was the reason they recused themselves from the case, is because Brian Albert, a homeowner of 34 Fairview, who's BPD, his brother is the best detective. I have his exact words written here. I have so many notes, it's just crazy. He stated that he is the best detective in Canton. So let's listen to Lieutenant Gallagher. Thank God he retired after 32 years of service. And Ed, I hope Alan Jackson listens maybe to some of these podcasts, because I hope and pray that tomorrow Alan Jackson, the defense attorney for Karen Reed, asks this lieutenant, sir, how many crime scenes have you ever processed in your whole career? Because remember, this is the guy who said he never processed a crime scene in the snow. And you live in that northeast corridor where we get wild snow. So he said under oath that in 32 years, Ed, he's never freaking processed a crime scene in the snow. What do I say to that?
Oh, hell no.
Hell no.
That's a oh hell no to the 10th degree.
I need my bullshit flag and throwing the flag on the field, because he's talked about that you can't take notes in inclement weather. Are you kidding me? Okay. A freaking legal pad and a pencil works in the rain. Besides that, we have crime scene notebooks that have write in the rain paper, and we have pens and ink that do not run in the rain. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And that's, he's got an excuse for everything. How about pop up the tent and secure a tent correctly? Yeah, it's windy out, sure. But they come with pegs and
I got to stop you. I have to stop you because I don't want you to have a heart attack. Have you ever in your entire career, and now I could say active and off the job, because you continued your training, you continued working at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, have you ever heard of this kind of fuckery in evidence collection crime scene 101?
No, it's I'm going to make my own word up. It's imbecilic. Okay. All right. Oh my God. Again, It's a prime example of a little knowledge being very dangerous. Okay. He makes excuses after excuses why he doesn't do something the right way. There's only two ways to do something: the wrong way or the right way. And there was no excuse for him not doing the right way. He had people, he could have sent them back to get what's needed. He doesn't know the difference between a Stop and Shop bag and a forensic bag. Even though they may be made with the same material, he's paying more for the forensic bag because the integrity of the bag and its ability to maintain what's inside of it is different than a shopping bag. The seams are sealed. The inside is protected from contamination when it's processed and made. Okay, that's why you pay more for that type of paper bag than you do from a Stop and Shop bag. Okay, I mean, it blows my mind. Okay, and then he doesn't even know where the bag came from, but yet he used it and put the open cups, the 6 open solo cups, in the paper bag. And even in the video, which you're never supposed to do, that's another thing. You don't videotape your operations. He's videotaping himself snow blowing, and it's a gas snow blower. So he's bringing gasoline into a crime scene. Okay. And he's blowing it. As he's blowing it, you see things flying away. No, we don't know what they are. They could be leaves. They could be all kinds of things. We just don't know.
Yeah. Emily D. Baker, our attorney friend from California. Also, I love her channel as well. Melanie said that Emily D. Baker went code red today for the fuckery here. And you know what? any good cop that knows even the minimal crime scene and evidence preservation has to be embarrassed. This is an embarrassment to all law enforcement across the country. This is not indicative of our law enforcers across the country, but this is like a black eye. Everyone should be walking around with a cold steak on their eye, because, and you could see it when this guy testified. You could hear how he was like, "Well, I knew everyone's going to be questioning me about the leaf blower." Let's listen to this because we only got an hour.
Became a permanent intermittent police officer in Canton in 1992. What a permanent intermittent police officer is, it's basically a part-time police officer. You're required to attend a 16-week part-time academy. Your duties include regular patrol duties that a regular police officer would do, but you're only utilized during special events, short staffing, and you're allowed to work paid traffic details.
Did that status change at some point?
It did in 1994.
1994, were you a patrolman?
Yes, and that required me to attend a full-time 18-week police academy.
In addition to the police academy, did you continue your training over the years?
Yes, I did.
Can you share with the jury some of the training that you would attend over the years?
Oh, sure. So I did constitutional law. I did interview and interrogation, terrorism, international terrorism, domestic violence, buccal swabbing, and
He sure didn't use buccal swabbing that day, or any kind of swabbing, right?
I don't even know if he used gloves. He keeps talking about photographs. I haven't seen one crime scene photograph.
We all know the buccal is the cheek swab, but this guy said his specialty was narcotics.
Yes.
So he clearly, Ed, had very little to none of the qualifications to process a crime scene. And he claimed that because the state police weren't going to respond because of the snow conditions. So I'm to believe that the Massachusetts State Police are not equipped to respond to emergencies where it involves a police officer being murdered on someone's front lawn or at any location off duty, that the Massachusetts State Police does not respond. And everybody, and I don't care what anybody says here, this lieutenant confirmed to me, not only today, but in the first trial, that everybody knew that it was John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, found dead at 34 Fairview. And you are going to tell me that his face looked like he went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson, that you are not going to throw the kitchen sink at this thing, or even at the very least, Ed, secure that scene until a competent authority can get on there, not some guy with a leaf blower and solo cups and Stop and Shop bags. This is what makes it a travesty of justice.
Yeah, 100%. And, there's standards that we practice. They're in these books. I've written them myself, and they didn't follow any of them. Okay. This is about justice. This is about truth. Okay. And for anybody attacking us for speaking out about this, shame on you. Okay. Because this could be any one of us that could be lying on that lawn like John O'Keefe was. Yeah. And this is how they were going to process the scene for any one of us, because they didn't know what they were doing, because they were incompetent. And then maybe it morphed into something more sinister.
Yeah. I'll say this to any of my law enforcement retired or active brothers and sisters. If you think that this is okay, what we're seeing here, then you need to do some soul searching. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. I'm not doing this for, the oohs and ah moments. But if you see this as okay, if you see this as okay for anybody, it doesn't even matter that John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer. But if this is the response from a Canton Police Department to a crime scene, and I hope Alan Jackson asks this retired lieutenant, how many murder scenes did you investigate in your career? And I guarantee if he answers honestly, he'll say none.
Forensically, though, you got to say forensically.
Forensically. Yeah. He took the lead on a Boston police officer found dead on another cop's front lawn, and his best detective in Canton's brother's home. Why wasn't this, Ed? if we had something like this happen, would a lieutenant come and pound on our front door and demand us give a statement? What the F happened here? What happened on your front lawn? I need you to tell me why there's a dead cop on your front lawn.
Exactly.
They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
She said he didn't want to answer any questions. He didn't come out. He didn't even step out. And the lead detective commanding officer who resides right there, right across the street, provided him with red Solo cups and a Stop and Shop bag, and didn't put on his long johns and put on his winter gear and get his ass out there. Isn't that what detectives are supposed to do? Detect stuff? Isn't the commanding officer of your detective unit in Canton, isn't that what they're there for? This guy's responding in his own car.
And in supervisory hierarchy here, that boss that lived across the street was higher than this lieutenant, and that Lieutenant Gallagher reports to him. Okay, so he answers to him. He should have came out and took charge. Did he? I mean, he's the lieutenant of the detectives. All right.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it. And that's what makes this all super, super shady. Let's listen to the leaf blowers now. You guys get ready. Those of you in the audience, how many of you heard it? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard the testimony today from this guy. He actually was gloating about his leaf blower performance. Put a 1 in the chat if you listened to this. I know most of you listened here at Attorney Melanie Little's channel. As it was going on, I was at work with an earbud in, zipping around the warehouse and freaking the F out. Look at all those number ones. Everybody heard it. Well, we're going to hear it again, and you're going to get our take on this.
How deep was the snow covering that frozen ground?
Approximately 4 inches at that time.
When you want to look around the area, did you consider using a rake or a shovel?
I did.
And did you?
I did not.
Why didn't you use a shovel at that point?
I was afraid I would miss something or possibly break something.
Unbelievable.
To stop it, let me know.
Unbelievable. That's just wrong. Okay. There's a process to examining snow, and it involves, guess what? A clean shovel and sifting and melting. He doesn't know jack shit about forensics. Okay. So he shouldn't be making these decisions anyhow. He should have called the goddamn crime scene unit. All right. Maybe their initial call to the Massachusetts State Police did not give them the correct information for them to respond.
Right.
Okay.
In an instance like this, if you are not capable of it, because there's people in the chat that are saying, well, they did the best that they could. No.
No, not even close.
The best thing that they could have done is backed out, secured the crime scene, because nothing was going anywhere. It would have just got filled up with snow, and then the right way you could have got, like you said last year, a big industrial thick tent, and then you use heat lamps to melt the snow, and now you have all your evidence. There it is.
Wait, there's so many. There are protocols for this. I mean, so you don't have to make it up. It's already there. They just didn't know them, and they apparently don't have the equipment to do it. But you would think in the Northeast, in New England, it snows a lot. They would know these procedures. But that said, you folks, you pay taxes for that service, okay? And that guy was making close to $300 and something thousand a year, okay? That's your tax money to this, okay? Do you think you're getting your money's worth here? Okay, you need.
Could I answer that with a soundbite?
Oh, hell no.
No.
You need to demand better, okay? You need to demand better.
What could you break with a shovel?
Anything, glass or anything of that nature.
What was your decision about how you would search that area? What did you want to see?
I wanted to see anything that was possible, whether it was any type of weapon or any type of medical bottle or any reason that he could have come to where he was.
Did you think of a way that you could look below the top of the snow without unresting the scene?
Yes, I did.
And what did you conclude?
Because of the blood, the pink spots I thought might be blood. I thought a leaf blower would be the best method because I have seen it used and to remove light layers of snow, and it can be controlled.
Where could he have possibly seen that, Ed Wallace?
I have no idea where he got it from, unless he saw it in some freaking stupid Hollywood movie someplace. I don't know where he would get that. All right.
And is that in this book, the 5th edition?
No, you won't find it in that book or any of the books behind me, which are, the standard crime scene investigation books that are used in colleges and for certifications for crime scene investigators. All right. It's just not there. You don't do this. You sift the snow, you melt the snow, you filter it. All right. There's ways to do this. And if you didn't know what to do, then go get yourself some clean tarps, put the tarps down around there, and nail them down and then protect what's underneath it, and then wait so that you can get the people that know what the hell they're doing to come do this. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
And a lot of people that are joining us are new. If you're new here, let us know in the chat that you are new, just stumbling across this live stream. Ed, could you tell the new folks, just in a very short way, what your credentials are? Some people might not know, many do know, but quickly, what are your credentials, Ed, and how many crime scenes have you processed in the New York City Police Department crime scene?
Well, I'm a retired first grade detective. Detective first grade is the highest ranking detective in the police department. I worked in the crime scene unit for 15 years. I have numerous certification in forensics and crime scene investigation, including certified senior crime scene analyst, fire investigation, post-blast investigation certifications, hazardous material investigation, shooting reconstruction, bloodstain pattern analysis, and I teach this. I've written on it extensively, 4 textbooks, and I travel all over the world and teach fellow crime scene investigators, and I teach here in the United States as well. I was the director of forensic training at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, where I was responsible for developing courses in death investigations for our nation's death investigators. And I won 3 $1 million grants to provide this training from the U.S. Department of Justice. So this is just a little bit about me.
Thank you, Ed. All right, let's listen to more as we get further amped up here.
And after having seen that before and making that decision, what was the benefit of a leaf blower over a shovel?
I wasn't going to miss anything with a leaf blower. Much better control.
Control what you're.
Oh, I can't help but laugh. It's so pathetic. Okay, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Should I put it on slow speed instead of speeding it up so we can hear it real time?
Yeah.
What was your hope with the leaf blower?
To clear the area, controlled, slowly, so any potential evidence of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe wouldn't be lost.
Did you have a leaf blower with you?
Did not.
So what did you do?
Sergeant Good volunteered to go get a leaf blower.
Did you remain at the scene?
I did.
So if Sergeant Good went to get the leaf blower, why couldn't he have also, which the police station was less than a quarter of a mile from this location, why couldn't Sergeant Good go and get evidence collection bags and evidence collection containers for the blood? Why couldn't he have said, hey, wait a minute, if you're going to go, why don't you get the proper supplies to bring back? Because he didn't know what the proper supplies were.
Right. And he said, I couldn't let him go because I needed the manpower to safeguard the crime scene. Okay. This is, just totally ridiculous. Then he said, there was nobody back at the station house that could have gotten into the location because they didn't have the keys and they weren't authorized to go in there. But the other sergeant was, so he could have sent the sergeant back, right?
Yeah.
He could have authorized somebody that had access to it to go there and get it. He didn't want to leave the scene himself because he could have got it himself, but he didn't want to leave the scene because he was in charge, right? He was too busy running around the crime scene with his leaf blower. Let's talk about that too, because he's now using that leaf blower to blow stuff over the blood drops. Now, he doesn't obviously know bloodstain pattern analysis because he calls it a pattern, but he can't identify it as a pattern because he doesn't have the training or knowledge to do that, to classify it as a pattern. And if they were 90-degree blood drops and they were, spaced relatively apart, well, that means that the blood fell downward from above. So something, some object or had blood on it and was dripping, or a wound or an injury was dripping from above down onto the snow at about 90 degrees, depending if it's a circular stain or an elliptical stain. But he doesn't know how to analyze this or any of that. And there's all kinds of control tests that I could have done in the blood to determine maybe the height that the blood fell for, or the amount of the blood, and he calls it coagulated, or he doesn't know that. He doesn't know any of this. Okay, he says the ground was frozen. How do you know the ground was frozen? Did you test it? Did you take a temperature? Do you have a thermal imaging camera? Do you have an alternate light source? These are two non-destructive ways that you could have searched the top of the snow first before you started blowing things around looking for evidence. Okay, oh my God.
All right, take a breather, Ed.
During this time, you still have no information that it's a crime scene?
We had no information on a crime at that time.
Did Sergeant Good come back with the leaf blower?
He did.
Did you try to get any other items to help you?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When Sergeant Good came back with the leaf blower, did you use it?
I did.
Was it successful?
Very.
Tell us what you did.
I started with low speed and began whisking away the snow. And then I saw how it was uncovering those pink spots were becoming brighter red. So I verified it was frozen or coagulated blood at that time.
He verified that it was frozen, coagulated blood.
How did you verify it? Did you take a temperature? Did you have a thermal temperature thermometer? Did you infrared? What did you do to verify that it was frozen? All right. Besides looking at it.
I can answer that.
Oh, hell no.
And so out of the abundance of caution, I decided that that was something we may want to collect.
Why did you want to collect that?
Just out of abundance of caution, DNA. I expected it to be John's DNA.
And what about a perp's DNA? Why
did he jump to that conclusion?
Why is he just expecting that it would be John? See, everything about this testimony leaves a very bad taste in a professional's mouth, our mouths, right? He didn't even lead on to here in this testimony here as a retired lieutenant. He didn't even lead on to say, hey, I was doing the best that I could for a police officer that was found non-responsive on the front lawn of another police officer's home, and I was doing everything that I possibly could. He didn't even go and knock on the door. Isn't that the first thing that would happen here after he discovered, okay, I got 4 cops here, the scene is secured, and he said by his own words that there was nobody out, no neighbors out, no crowd, no people trying to gawk because of the weather. How about going and knocking on the door? Hey, Mr. Albert, Brian, come out here and tell me what the fuck happened here.
Yeah, but that should have started with the patrol officers. The first officers on the scene should have done that. I mean, for the safety of the occupants inside the house. You got potential dead guy on the lawn. You don't know if the occupants of the house are in trouble too. Nobody did it. We call it canvassing the neighborhood. You start knocking on doors and waking people up and interviewing them and seeing if they have ring cameras, all of that. What about this? What if somebody walked up to John on the lawn and crawl at him in the back of the head with that glass tumbler, right? And then that tumbler is broken because there was a piece of it was missing, right? And that perp got cut by that glass, using it to crush John's head. And then that perp dropped those blood. You don't know. You just made all these freaking assumptions, and you didn't take the proper care. Did you measure where the stains were? No. Did you photograph where the stains were? No. Did you put it on a sketch? No. So we don't know any of this.
Thank you, Dirty Hank, for the super chat. Let's listen to the rest of this because it gets worse.
I wasn't going to get a second chance at it. It was either collect it or never have it.
Were you making quick decisions under these circumstances?
Yes.
Did you ask somebody to get a container to put the coagulated blood in?
Timeout?
Timeout. There's no reason to rush. What is his reason to rush? Okay. Oh, I had to do it now or I wasn't going to get it. That's bullshit. You know, how many crime scenes have you and I been to, Ron, where quick thinking police officers, in order to safeguard evidence like that blood drop, went and found clean containers to put over the top of items of evidence like that, whether it's ballistics or in this case, blood, to protect it from being damaged or altered any further than it was because of inclement weather and the people at the scene.
I've
Okay?
done it numerous times as a patrol cop, and I did it numerous times as a detective. So at the end of the day, I don't care if it was a nor'easter, and yes, I looked it up. The weather, it was bad. The weather was bad, but you have to adapt to the climates that you serve. These guys are protecting and serving in Canton, Massachusetts. They get tough winters, and there is no excuse. There is no excuse, no matter who it is, that you failed to preserve a crime scene or evidence. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't wing it. And this guy right here winged it. It's clear and apparent. Now, there's some people who argue that they purposely fudged this investigation. I don't know if that's true, but I could say this. I've never seen anything like this before. And it is just outrageous the second time. I saw it last year, and I'm seeing it again for another time. Ed, what do you got up on the screen?
Feeling better naturally. A crime scene is a crime scene until it's not. I love you. I love you.
What was your decision about how you would search that area? What did you want to see?
I wanted to see anything that was possible, whether it was any type of weapon or any type of medical bottle or any reason that he could have come to where he was.
Did you think of a way that you could look below the top of the snow without unresting the scene?
Yes, I did.
And what did you conclude?
Because of the blood, the pink spots I thought might be blood. I thought a leaf blower would be the best method because I have seen it used and to remove light layers of snow, and it can be controlled.
And after having seen that before and making that decision, what was the benefit of a leaf blower over a shovel?
I wasn't going to miss anything with a leaf blower, much better control.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to miss it. You're going to blow it down to the next house.
And we're going to see that happen here. We're going to see, and there's going to be things that we can't see that got blown. Very fine particles. Ed, I know you can go into this. We're already 45 minutes into this, so I want to speed it up, and I want to get to the leaf blower, and then I want to go to Alan Jackson's cross, because Alan Jackson really digs in here, and tomorrow is going to be even worse. This guy thinks his day went bad today. Well, tomorrow is going to be even worse for him.
What your intention? What was your hope with the leaf blower?
To clear the area, controlled, slowly, so any potential evidence of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe wouldn't be lost.
Did you have a leaf blower with you?
Did not.
So what did you do?
Sergeant Good volunteered to go get a leaf blower.
Did you remain at the scene?
I did.
During this time, are you still have no information that it's a crime scene?
We had no information on a crime at that time.
You got a dead person unexplained on the front lawn. Hey, guy. Hey, Lieutenant. Listen to me. This is coming from a detective. That's a crime scene. You don't know what happened. You can't just assume that we have no crime. And how about going and knocking on the door while you're waiting for this sergeant to come back with that stupid leaf blower? How about telling your cops, there was 4 cops there. So you tell those 2 police officers, because it was him and 2 police officers, him, the sergeant, there was 4 of them there. Your sergeant's gone, hey, you 2 cops, stay right here, stand right here. I'm going to go and knock on this guy's door. He didn't do that. What was he doing? Just twiddling his thumbs while the sergeant went to go get that stupid leaf blower? What did he do? Nothing.
Did Sergeant Good come back with the leaf blower?
He did.
Did you try to get any other items to help you?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When Sergeant Good came back with the leaf blower, did you use it?
I did.
Was it successful?
Very.
You want to see?
Tell us what you did.
I started with low speed and began whisking away the snow. And then I saw how it was uncovering those pink spots, becoming brighter red. So I verified it was frozen or coagulated.
It's no training, Bertie. You would expect to see this from somebody who's a volunteer, an auxiliary. Maybe even an auxiliary would know more than this.
Blood at that time.
Go ahead, Ed.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a guy thinking, because he saw on a television show or movie, okay, like with the late Gene Hackman and Will Smith, that you can take a potato chip bag, dump the contents out, and turn it into a Faraday bag and stick a cell phone in and scramble the signal. Okay. All right. He saw this on some show. Maybe there was a home improvement show, how to clean the driveway off, with a leaf blower. But, this just drives me nuts.
And so out of the abundance of caution, I decided that that was something we may want to collect.
Why did you want to collect that?
Just out of abundance of caution, DNA. I expected it to be John's DNA. And I wasn't going to get a second chance at it. It was either collect it or never have it.
Were you making quick decisions under these circumstances?
Yes.
Did you ask somebody to get a container to put the coagulated blood in?
I ended up getting the containers.
Where did you get them from?
I got them from Lieutenant Gallagher, who lived in the neighborhood.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher ever come over to the scene?
He did not.
Did he work for the Canton Police Department?
He did.
Why didn't he come over to the scene with you?
Because he originally thought the scene was at 32.
They stopped him there.
Did you ask him to come over to the scene to help you?
No.
Did you expect him to come over to help you?
No.
Did you prefer he not?
Correct.
So when you get the containers, were they plastic cups?
Yes, they were red Solo cups.
And what was the purpose of using the red Solo cups?
They were plastic. They weren't going to leak. They weren't going to get soggy. They were large. I needed a small sample. My thought was because it was frozen or coagulated, that we could collect it, transport it, and transfer it to the crime lab, who could extract the DNA however they saw best.
Could you, Ms. Gilman, stop at the end of the video so it's a still frame?
Oh, you're going to...
Did you ask him?
For when the...
Could you, Ms. Gilman, you were telling us about the leaf blower. Did it serve to excavate the area?
It did.
Did you begin that process?
I did.
And when you did that, did you try?
I didn't want to skip over the excavating of the area, Ed.
Yeah, sure. Play it.
Does the leaf blower serve to excavate the area of blowing snow?
Try to memorialize it.
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
I had Sergeant Good videotape it.
Why did you have Sergeant Good memorialize your efforts to excavate the area?
I thought someone may wonder why I decided to use a leaf blower, so I wanted to.
Everybody is wondering why you did that, Lieutenant. Everybody.
Yeah, because he was so proud of himself that they thought of this, and he thought he was doing a great job, so he wanted to memorialize it with a videotape.
Straight its effectiveness.
I'm going to move to introduce two videos that council has.
So there's no objection to these videos, right?
No objection.
51.
Thank you.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
With the court's permission, can I show the jury the videos?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, can we show number one, please?
And now, folks, correct me if I'm wrong. I do not see blowing snow like before he's blowing it, obviously, with the leaf blower. But I don't see blowing snow here. I don't see driving wet snow. I see a bare hand out here. I don't see the conditions that Lieutenant Gallagher has described to the jury and the prosecutor. I don't see it. I don't see a nor'easter happening at this particular time that he's blowing the snow. Let me know in the chat. I mean, am I off base here, folks? Let me know in the chat if you feel that I'm right on the money here with this, but I don't see the extreme conditions. If you agree with me, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that I'm maybe overstepping, put a 2, and I respect your opinions. But I see this as a number 1 all day, every day, because There is no blowing snow. His hand is bare out there, and I'm not seeing driving snow in this video. And I don't know. Maybe Ed, you see something that I don't see, but I don't see the same. Oh, look at Ed. Wait a minute. What's happening here? Ed, are you drinking vodka now?
I'm hyperventilating in my solo cup. Watch things blow away, folks. Watch things blow away. Whoo, something just blew away.
Good.
Ms. Gilman, could you, Ms. Gilman, stop?
No, not that I saw.
I'm going to ask if we could see the second video, please, Ms. Gilman.
Oh, you mean there's more? There's a second video?
But wait, there's more.
But wait, again here, I don't see driving snow. I see his hand out there. He's not wearing gloves. What happened to this horrible condition that he described with an urgency to blow snow around? I mean, he said that it was too much wind to put up a tent, because he did have a tent. But where is this nor'easter with driving wet snow that he describes while he's memorialized on video doing the most stupid thing I've ever seen in my whole career, and going into my retired career, I've never seen anything like this.
Now he was asked. Yeah, play it. Just play it. He was asked.
You stop there, please.
If he saw foot trails or foot tracks or drag marks in the snow coming from the side yard in front of the house to this location. But he says no, he didn't see it, but there's no documentation. There's no photographs.
He didn't take any photographs. He didn't take any report. He didn't write any reports. He didn't sign any reports. He didn't have any of his cops make a report.
He doesn't have it. He doesn't have a chain of custody, a written chain of custody. You know, none of that has been done here. Okay. And he keeps talking about chain of custody as if there is one, but there isn't one.
Yeah. Collected red substance, red like blood substance from this location. None of that. None of it. There's nothing.
That's good. Sir, who's the person holding the leaf blower?
That is me.
Did the leaf blower work as you had hoped?
It was great.
It was great.
Oh my.
Oh my God.
What a fool.
You see the end of the leaf blower?
I do.
There's an object just below it at like 7 o'clock. Do you see that?
I do.
Did you discover something in that area?
We did.
What did you discover?
It's a cocktail glass.
Was it, did it have any damage to it?
Everybody, please put "it was great" in the chat so we can memorialize that. It was great. Please. Thank you, Gary Peck. Everybody, please flood the chat with "it was great" so we can memorialize this with our live stream here. Oh my God.
Do we know if that glass came from the bar or if that glass came from inside of the house? Was it, did they any investigation into the origins of the glass?
What was the urgency for him to pick it up and put it in a Stop and Shop bag? That's the thing. I didn't see any urgency. And he goes on to talk about that urgency.
It did.
Yeah.
Describe that for us.
It was broken on the top.
Could you continue the video, please, Ms. Gilman?
The snowblower's blowing harder than the nor'easter.
Yeah.
Or the leaf blower there.
Look at it. It's all blowing up here. All up here. See?
Yeah. I guess he never heard of trace transfer evidence.
There's some red spots. Is that what you identified as coagulated blood?
That is.
Below some of those spots and to the left, there's the area that's not white. It's brownish. Do you know what that is?
That's, I believe, just bare ground.
If we could finish the video, please.
Please take us out of our misery.
We need that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he says, "What a maroon."
Okay. Thank you. Could you have the lights on, please?
All right. He's going to go
Did you or
on.
any officer?
He's going to go on.
I know
to
we
talk
didn't.
To talk about them recusing themselves because of the best detective, the greatest detective that they have, Kevin Albert. is a detective with Canton PD, and he felt that it was in the best interest of this investigation to recuse themselves because his brother, Brian Albert, is the homeowner of 34 Fairview.
With the exception of uncovering the 6-foot asphalt berm.
Did you say 6 foot or is it?
Excuse me, 6-inch.
What's a berm?
It's it's basically a curbing, but it's made of asphalt. It's curved. You probably have seen it. It's yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
Did he speak to you?
Yes.
Area?
No, he went to. No, we didn't. With the exception of uncovering.
Did you have a responsibility and role in that process, or were you a passive observer?
I had an active role. I was the chain of custody. I was turning it over to the criminalist to the state police lab.
After that glass was given to the criminalist, did you ever have possession of it again?
Never.
Did you ever package it or touch it again in any way?
No, never.
Did you ever process it in any way?
No.
Did you put it in that box and tape it up yourself?
No.
Okay. I'm going to now ask you to open the box, please.
Time out.
Okay. By the way, everyone who's sent super chats, I'm going to get to them towards the end of the show. Obviously, we're going to go a little bit of overtime here. For those of you in the chat right now, if you want us to go for another half hour, let us know by saying a yes in the chat. If you guys had enough of this, let us know and say no, end it, and we'll end at an hour. Ed, go ahead. What was your thoughts here?
Okay. That glass in New York would never get into a court of law if it did not have a unique evidence number attached to it. In this case, we would have processed the glass in the field for fingerprints and DNA. And then once we've done that, we would have taken our diamond tip scribe and scribe our initials and the evidence number into a portion of the glass. Okay. And this way, when we open the packaging later, after we package it in the courtroom, we can say, well, how do you know that's the same exact glass? Well, because my initials and the evidence number and the case number is scribed into it. Okay. They didn't do any of that here. You took it on his word that it was the same glass.
Like he's opening an Amazon box.
Is there an item in that bag?
There is.
Would you please open the bag and show us what's in that bag?
Is there a label on that bag? Is it an evidence label? What's written on there? There should have been an evidence label saying where it was, where it came from, who collected it, the date and time, the address of the location, the crime. None of that. I didn't see anything on there.
It looks like just red tape at the top. There's a little yellow label there.
Where?
Right, I saw it right over here.
And do we know the results of any analysis of that glass?
Back in the box, please.
I know the blood never was tested.
Yeah, the blood wasn't tested.
Lieutenant Gallagher, does that appear to be the same item that you found in the area where John O'Keefe was at Fairview that morning?
Yes, it does.
Well, how do you know?
The box and the item marked for identification, please.
Okay.
In New York, a defense attorney would have jumped up and said, objection. How do you know it's the same?
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you.
Budget length or misbehaving characteristics.
At this point, did you have any understanding that this would later be a crime scene?
I did, yes.
What happened? How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, not at that time.
Oh, not at that time.
No,
Okay.
not at that time.
When you went into the house, what part of the house did you go into?
I went into the room. It's adjacent to the kitchen, and I stood
This is days later, by the way.
there with Brian Albert.
Can you describe what kind of room that could be?
Yeah, it was just a typical family room type room. It was not large. It was between the garage and the kitchen.
You met with Brian Albert?
Brian Albert answered the door and let us into the house.
Did you understand what his relationship was to that house?
He was the homeowner.
Did Sergeant Lang walk in with you?
He did.
Did he stay in that living area?
No, he went to the kitchen area and sat down with Jen McCabe.
Could you see the kitchen area from where you were?
I could see a portion of the kitchen area.
Did you see anybody else in the kitchen area with Mrs. McCabe and Sergeant Lang?
There were people in the kitchen area. There was nobody with Sergeant Lang or Miss McCabe.
Could you hear their conversation?
No.
Were you trying to listen?
No.
Were you speaking to Mr. Albert?
I was.
Did you take the time to make observations of him?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow it.
Did you take the time
Of course you'll allow it.
to make observations of him?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
Did he speak to you?
Yes.
Was there anything about his mannerisms or affect that caused you any concern?
No, it was just a social conversation. There was nothing of concern at all.
Was there anything about it that caused you to hone in or be concerned?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
Of course. No,
Did you get a chance to look around that living area at the
Sure.
items?
I didn't look around or just with my eyes.
Did you get to see that area?
I did.
Did you see anything broken or looked out of place?
No, nothing.
Anything that caused you any type of concern?
Nothing.
When you looked towards the kitchen, did you see anything that looked different or suspicious in any way?
Nothing.
Was the interaction, did it cause you any alarm or concerns?
No.
After Sergeant Lank had an opportunity to speak to Mrs. McCabe and you spoke to Brian Albert, what did you do next?
We left.
Where did you go?
We went back to the police department and were informed that the state police were going to respond to the hospital and that we didn't need to respond to the hospital.
When you heard that the state police was then going to get involved in the investigation, what does Canton do when the state police takes over an investigation?
Well, it was based off of a conversation I had with my chief in the detective sergeant's office.
Was there a decision about Canton's involvement in the ongoing investigation?
There was.
What was that decision?
That we should recuse ourselves from any further investigative interviews.
And why was that?
Because our best detective, his name was Kevin Albert, and he was the brother of the homeowner. And I didn't want any potential bias, whether unconscious or subjective, to be perceived
Our best detective.
by the O'Keefe's, by the O'Keefe family.
When the state police got involved and you had the conversation with the chief, was that the end of your efforts towards this?
It was the end of our efforts until, I helped facilitate during the search warrant on February 1st.
And so at some point, was the defendant's Lexus brought to the Canton Police Department?
It was.
Was it put in a particular area at the Canton Police Department?
It was.
What area?
The Sally Port.
What's a Sally Port?
Sally Port is where, when we have an arrest, we bring our prisoners in. It's basically a extra large garage. It has 4 doors. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. We typically go in door 4 and pull towards door 3. Door 4 is lowered, and then prisoners are walked into the booking area, which is also secure. The exterior doors to the Sally Port can only be opened by the dispatch council.
When crime scene services,
I'm done with that. I want to hear Alan Jackson's cross. Now, Alan Jackson has been a pit bull this whole time, and people have criticized him as being too tough and, going and possibly turning this jury off. I do not feel that way. I feel like he's doing his job and he is attacking these witnesses and he's making it uncomfortable for them because all of the things he's bringing up are showing what they need to do. The defense's job is to create reasonable doubt or show the jury that there's reasonable doubt. And there is a freaking plethora of reasonable doubt here, a plethora of reasonable doubt. And
go
ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I just want to add, I hope everybody saw the testimony of the 2 occupants of the vehicle that followed Karen and John down the street to the Albert's house, and the how they testified. They just, there's no obfuscation. There was no looking at the jury. They just was yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Their answers, the way they, as opposed to people that were prepped. All right. And when you saw the paramedic get up there and see how she was prepped, also the nurse that testified, and
Yes.
how the paramedic testified. Okay, where you could see she was prepped.
Katie
Okay,
McLaughlin was prepped big time.
And she testified that she was prepped. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas Lady Macbeth there, she didn't. No, I didn't. I wasn't prepped. I didn't have any prep. I didn't need to review any testimony or anything like that.
Right. You're talking about Jennifer McCabe, right?
Yes, Lady Macbeth. Yes.
At some point during this cross, Karen Reed tries to make a note and pass it to Alan Jackson. Did anybody catch that?
Mr. Jackson, is this video?
She was
of
trying
yours, or
to.
is
She
it-
wrote a note and was trying to pass it to him. Anybody catch on to that today?
What is it?
It was interesting. She wound up handing it to Attorney Little.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is it me or is Bev always
Mr.
sound
Gallagher, you
annoyed?
have already established.
Is it me or Auntie Bev always sounds annoyed when Alan Jackson politely says, "May I, Your Honor?" She goes, "Yes." Like it's like everything. Is this going to take long? Could you speed it up? You got 5 minutes. Like she's always pressing the defense, but never the prosecution. She's always annoyed.
You were at the scene on January 29th, early morning, January 29th, 2022. We've seen the video of the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
So you were integral to at least an initial search of the scene, which recovered the drinking glass you've shown us, as well as some of the blood byproduct that you've talked about.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. You were the ranking person on scene. You've already described that.
Yes, that is correct.
There were also several other officers from Canton PD who were there with you.
Yes, there was 4 other officers. Yes.
Can you just name those other officers?
Yeah, Detective Sergeant Lank, Lank, Detective Sergeant Good, Goode, Officer Mullaney, Mullaney, and Officer Saraf, Saraf.
Okay. When you initially, let me back up and ask a different question. Given the fact that you were the ranking officer, the way that it works in a police department is everybody sort of reports up the chain of command, correct?
That is correct.
So they would have all reported up to you in some particular.
That's correct.
And then, of course, you report to the deputy chief, and then the deputy chief reports on up to the chief, correct?
That is correct.
You were involved in not only the exposing of some of that blood byproduct, but also exposing the glass with the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
You were responsible for utilizing certain equipment. You chose a leaf blower at the time, correct?
I did, yes.
There was also, I'm guessing, there was also some use of your hands and or the gloved hands with some others to recover some of the items.
Yeah, I didn't use my hands.
How did you get the glass into a bag?
That was Detective Sergeant Lank.
Somebody had to pick it up, right?
Correct.
That's what I mean. The use of hands to manipulate some of the evidence, correct?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't understand that question.
That's okay.
I thought you were speaking about me.
It's probably my fault, not yours.
No, that's okay.
There was also some plastic cups that we've talked about. We'll talk more about those in a second. Those were utilized as well, correct?
Were, yes.
And you were responsible for the use of those as well.
Yes, it was
So,
my decision, yes.
In terms of the search of the scene, the recovery of evidence, the recovery of biological material, the use of tools to recover those biological materials, all of that rested, at least ultimately at the scene, on your shoulders, correct?
Yes, it did.
Isn't it true that you weren't interviewed in this case with regard to anything having to do with this case until April 3rd, 2024, correct?
Yes, we can call it an interview. It's when I met with the prosecutor, yes.
And that was
That's unbelievable.
about,
Stand by. I have something I got to show you. It's interesting. What's happening here, Ed?
I'm the unknown crime scene investigator from Stop and Shop.
Are you the unknown crime scene investigator from Stop and Shop? The bag is upside down, Mr. Unknown Detective. What do you use that Stop and Shop bag for, just by any chance? I know that it's not indicative of the NYPD crime scene unit, but...
It's for groceries.
Holy shiitake mushrooms, Ed. You know, just when I think you've done enough with wearing the balaclava ski mask in the Brian Kohlberger case and holding up the K-bar knife, you come in with Mr. Stop and Shop, the unknown comic.
I'm the unknown crime scene investigator from Stop and Shop. I got my crime scene certification from the produce section.
nearly 2.5 years after this incident, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Michael Proctor, you know that name.
I do.
Who's Michael Proctor?
He was one of the
Disgraced
troopers
trooper?
assigned to investigate the case.
As a matter of fact, he was the lead investigator.
He should have answered the disgraced trooper who was fired from his job for texting vile and disgusting things about my client right here.
For the case, correct?
I don't know if he was lead or trooper mechanic. I don't know.
As you sit here, you
How could this guy not know who the lead investigator is in this case? That is a blatant bullshit lie right there. That is, and you could see Karen Reed's face. She's about to put it on, Ed. For this guy to get up there and say that he had no idea that Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator, that is bullshit.
don't know that Michael Proctor was the lead case agent for.
I know he was one of them, yes.
Okay. Do you know that he was the lead investigator assigned to the case?
I don't. I had nothing to do with the DA's office.
Right. I know you didn't have.
I don't know how they assign their cases, counsel. I don't know what you want me to say. I can't say what I don't know.
Mr. Gallagher, I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking.
Just say he's
if-
I do not. I did not know he was lead. I know he was one of the leads.
Okay.
I believe they do it in a tandem, but I'm not sure.
Okay. He may have had a partner, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
But it's not unusual to have a lead case agent, the person who's responsible for most of the search warrant writing and the memorialization of documentation of evidence collection and the movement of evidence and booking into evidence, things like that.
That is correct, but I don't know anything about who wrote their affidavits or who logged their evidence in. I wouldn't know that.
You're also familiar with Yuri Buchanan, correct?
I know who he is.
You're also familiar with Lieutenant Tully.
I know, yes.
They're all Massachusetts State Police officers, correct?
Yes, they all are.
Did Michael Proctor interview you before April of 2024?
He did not.
Did Yuri Buchanan interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did
Did
not.
Lieutenant Tully interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did not.
Did anybody else from the Canton Police Department, your deputy chief or the chief, interview you formally about your conduct and responsibilities before April of 2020?
He gets offended here, Ed, that he would that Alan Jackson would have the audacity to ask him if somebody questioned him. This is the takeaway I got from his attitude right here, is he goes on now to say, well, why would anybody question me?
I don't understand that question.
Did anybody at Canton PD, separating out Massachusetts State Police,
Correct.
did you sit down at Canton PD and provide an
Absolutely
interview
not.
with anybody at Canton PD about your conduct at the scene?
What do you mean by conduct?
Going to the scene, collecting evidence, securing evidence, transporting evidence, booking evidence, those kinds of things. Your conduct at the scene, sir.
Yeah, I briefed my superiors, yes.
Okay. Other than briefing, was there a formal report
Look at their face.
written
No,
or a formal interview conducted of you?
no, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Why would anybody question me? I was just the first ranking officer on the scene, the highest ranking officer on the scene, and I collected evidence with a leaf blower and solo cups and a Stop and Shop bag. Why would anybody question me?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
I pat myself on the back.
That was a level of cockiness that I haven't seen from this guy in the first trial, because he was still active. He didn't have this like my shit doesn't stink attitude, but here as Alan Jackson asks him if anybody questioned him about his and he didn't word it right. He should have said about your professional the professional action that you took as a police lieutenant. The way he presented it to him maybe could have been reworded a little differently, but man, the way he got snippy with him here, absolutely not. You should have been reprimanded and probably sent for retraining. That's what should have happened to him. He should have been taken off the street and said, "Hey, you're a danger to be out there to an investigation, because you really fucked this one up. You know, leaf blowers, solo cups. We're the talk of the world. We're not just the talk of the town. We're the talk of the world. Everybody's laughing at the Canton Police Department. I actually, in a video, called them rinky dink. And I don't really like to do that, but this is because of this man. I'm calling the Canton Police rinky dink cops.
If their agency had an international standards organization accreditation for crime scene investigation, and they saw this, they would go there and immediately pull the accreditation from this law enforcement agency. They would have lost it. They have no business conducting any crime scene investigation in that town or any other place.
Yeah, Absolutely. Hi, Emily. Hello, Mel Stiller. Good to see everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're an hour and 15 minutes live. We got another 15 minutes, so let's get through this.
Tell us when you wrote your report about what happened at the scene, memorializing what you did at the scene.
I didn't.
You didn't write a report?
About the scene that day at the scene?
Correct, about this investigation.
I only did the metadata report. I did not write a report at the scene.
You never, in fact, the fact is you never wrote any report about what happened at the scene, correct?
Correct.
You didn't memorialize that in any formal way on Canton PD letterhead to describe what you did and how you did it at the scene.
Yeah.
I can't.
Normally, when you report to a scene as a first responder, you would be expected to write a report about that, whatever that conduct is.
I'm not the supervisor, no.
What if you're the ranking person at a scene that ultimately turns into a homicide scene?
Well, we don't know it's a homicide scene at this time. We don't even know there's a crime committed at this time. My responsibilities are to make sure reports are written, not to necessarily write the report.
Did you sign any of the reports? Because you're a lieutenant. Did you sign any of your police officers' reports from that day that you were there on the scene? Did you review their reports as supposed? That's what a lieutenant, that's what a supervisor is supposed to do. He's on the scene. He's there with the leaf blower doing all the crime. He made the command decision, Ed, to collect evidence. He made the command decision to process that scene, as he says, right?
And he videotaped himself doing it, so the evidence is there that he did it. So you did the search, you altered and contaminated the crime scene with the leaf blower. You discovered the glass. You contaminated the blood with whatever the leaf blower was blowing on it. And then you went and got the cups that you cannot testify to the sterility or the cleanliness or the integrity of the cups. Then you somehow got the Stop and Shop bag, from we don't know where, because you don't know where. So you can't attest to the integrity of this bag or the sterility or anything of it. You did all of that, but you don't generate a report and you don't have a chain of custody.
Ed, were you using that bag to breathe into it to stop hyperventilating? Tell the truth, Ed. You didn't just want to put that on.
No, I would need a bigger bag than that.
There you go.
Myself, I'm the supervisor. It's my job to make sure reports are written, evidence is logged, those types of things.
Under ordinary circumstances, you would respond to a scene as a supervisor, and you would oversee what other people are doing.
That's correct.
Not this time.
Sure.
I don't want to talk over each other.
I apologize.
You would want to supervise or oversee what your subordinate officers, whatever he or she might be doing or they might be doing. You're going to oversee that. But they're the ones actually conducting the investigation or picking up evidence or doing the interviews, writing those things back.
Correct. Detective Sergeant Lake's investigation. Yes.
So in that circumstance, you wouldn't be expected to write a report because all of that conduct is memorialized by others subordinate to the supervisor, correct?
Correct.
But in this case, quite the opposite happened. You were the one that was in the video utilizing the leaf blower, correct?
That's correct.
You were the one that actually exposed the drinking glass, correct?
Correct, yes.
You noted the drinking glass and actually called somebody else over to take a look at it.
That's correct.
You directed someone, Sergeant Blank, to pick up the drinking glass and recover it as a potential piece of evidence.
That is correct.
You noted the blood or the coagulation of blood in and around that area, correct?
That is correct.
You noted where you believe the drinking glass was, in other words, what location, if there were grid coordinates, where it would be, correct?
Correct.
And you instructed others to transport that important evidence back to Canton PD to have it booked, correct?
That is correct.
You also secured the plastic containers in which to recover the blood.
That is correct.
You also directed someone to get a bag to put the plastic containers in and ultimately transport it, correct?
That is correct.
So you would agree with me, Mr. Gallagher, that in this circumstance, you were the centerpiece of the recovery of evidence, the investigation as it was at that time, in that limited context. You were the centerpiece of what was happening at the scene, correct?
And I made sure it was documented by Detective Sergeant Lang.
Documented how?
Important enough to...
How did Detective Sergeant Lang document it when we haven't seen any of that?
No photos, no sketch, no 3D laser scanner, no measurements of where any of those blood stains came from or blood drops as actually, and where the glass came from, where's the exact measurements? Nothing. No standards, no crime scene standards. You followed nothing.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that.
Try to report yourself.
I think that's poor misrepresentation. There's a person fighting for their life. It was very important.
When you were there at the scene, at what time was it, by the way?
I got there shortly after 7.
Okay, you knew that person who was fighting for his life had already been transported and was in good care, as best care we can provide at Good Samaritan Hospital, correct?
That is correct.
So certainly you're not excusing away the idea that you didn't memorialize your conduct because you were too busy fighting for someone's life. That's not what you're saying.
No, it definitely is not what I'm saying.
That's what I heard him say.
That's what I did too. Right. I didn't have time to take notes or memorialize what I did because there was a man fighting for his life.
You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. He's talking out both
About
sides.
your conduct at the scene.
What do you mean by conduct?
Going to the scene, collecting evidence, securing evidence, transporting evidence, booking evidence, those kinds of things. Your conduct at the scene, sir.
Yeah, I briefed my superiors, yes.
Okay,
Ron,
reporting to a scene and supervise.
What, Ed?
Can we find the bag when he testifies about using the bag?
Well, he did that with the prosecution.
No, he does it here. He does it here.
All right, it's coming. It's coming, Ed.
Deputy Chief Kelleher did not come out of his house and take over the investigation, correct?
Correct.
That was yours to.
Yeah, and that's what I was so earlier on. I was yelling about that. The deputy chief, he was a lieutenant at the time. Now he's a deputy chief. So he's elevated from lieutenant in 2022. This guy was a lieutenant. He's now a deputy chief, Ed.
Mm-hmm.
So they promoted this guy for not coming out of his house and providing red Solo cups and a freaking Stop and Shop bag.
Yeah, but now the chief retired. So now maybe the deputy chief is going to go up a notch. Who knows?
Holy shiitake mushrooms.
Detail.
That is correct.
At least while you were there.
That's correct.
So can you describe what you did to preserve the crime scene? I'm sorry, to preserve the scene, because at that time you said you did not know if it was a crime scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
What did you do in terms of actually preserving the scene for later investigation? What steps did you take?
For later, can you explain later investigation?
So let me take a step back.
Sure.
Have you been trained to preserve scenes?
Yes.
What's the reason that you want to preserve a scene? What does that mean?
Collect evidence.
Collect evidence to make sure nothing is disturbed, correct?
Correct.
Civilians can't kind of trace through or walk through evidence, correct?
That's correct.
You've heard the phrase, principally, evidence in, evidence out. Someone traipses through a crime scene, you bring evidence with you, and you take it back on your shoes or on your feet or your breath or saliva, whatever it might be.
Very familiar with that, yes.
Preserving the scene is best practices to make sure that nothing is moved, touched, messed with in any way, correct?
That's correct, and that's what was done here.
What did you do? That's my question. What did you do to preserve that scene?
So there were no civilians ever to trample through. Were rescue efforts made on Mr. O'Keefe? Yes, that's priority.
You weren't there for that.
Do go into any type of scene. Medical life-saving measures come first. Once all apparatus was off scene, the original officers put out crime scene tape, mark an area, and later it was documented, it was photographed, and evidence was collected.
And it was searched by you, at least initially with the leaf blower.
Correct.
Okay. So you were interested in the area that, by the way, I want to clear this up, make sure I'm not mistaken. You described for Mr. Brennan basically where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. Correct?
Yes.
You never saw his body in situ. You never saw his body in situ.
That is correct.
You were told by Sergeant Blank generally where his body was, correct?
Yes, and Sergeant Lank actually never saw Mr. O'Keefe either.
That's my next question.
Okay, and Mr. Good and Sergeant Good as well.
Right. Sergeant Blank never saw John O'Keefe actually in place, correct?
That is correct.
So you're receiving information from Sergeant Lank that he did not have personal knowledge of, and then you're providing that information later to crime scene investigators who are trying to establish a diagram or some sort of a chart about where that where that evidence was, where the drinking glass was, where his body was, correct?
No, I never spoke to anybody in that manner about that.
Didn't you ultimately go out to the scene along with others at Massachusetts State Police when they had a drone overhead?
No, you're mistaken. I can clarify it for you if you wish.
Sure.
So on February 1st, after the execution of the warrant, they wanted to go down to the scene. It was Trooper Proctor and somebody from the CARS team. I'm not sure of the name. Once they got down there, I did show them where I was shown John O'Keefe was. They did want to put up a drone, but they could not do it because they were too close to Norwood Airport and because of FAA regulations.
Okay.
And that was the last of my involvement.
Okay.
But
So-
I hope that clarifies things for you.
That was the last of my screwing up the whole evidence collection and preservation of this 34 Fairview crime scene.
Forget the drone. I'm interested in the first part, which was you accompanied Trooper Proctor to the scene.
Correct.
There were other members of the CARS, CARS.
I think there was one crash accident reconstruction section, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Ed, he did 32 years on the job, and he's rattling off the acronym for, CARS and saying, I assume. How could you not know that?
Well, it's not part of Canton. It's part of the Massachusetts State Police, but he should know that.
Come on. I mean, we know our state police, New York State Police. This just further solidifies that this guy hasn't a clue. I hope Alan Jackson tomorrow asks him how many crime scenes he's processed in his career. How many crime scenes have you been on where you yourself took the lead on it? I guarantee he's going to say none.
So it's a forensic, a member of MSP who does forensic
I would say, I don't know if they do diagrams. I don't know what they do.
or reconstruction.
Sure, reconstruction of some sort.
So you were there to help provide information about where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
And be a Canton police officer present in case any neighbors had took my cruise into 34
Okay.
Fairview. Yes.
You were there at the same time Trooper Proctor was?
Yes.
And you were aware that the CARS team was there so that they could document the scene, correct?
I don't know what the purpose of the drone was. I'm not familiar with that section. I thought I answered that question. I'm not familiar with what they do.
But you do believe that as you sit here, you were there, we weren't. You do
Right.
believe that that's the reason that they were there was to document the scene.
Put up a drone.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean by document. I don't know if it was to photograph, I guess, which if you mean by document.
Ed, at a residential location, 34 Fairview, if the state police superintendent said, we want to throw a drone up 30, 40 feet in the air or whatever, and we want to get some shots of this property, how hard do you think it would be to get approval to do that?
No, it wouldn't be that hard at all. You'd contact air traffic control at the airport of concern, and
Maybe 15 minutes.
you explain what it is that you need to do. If that is in fact a restricted airspace, I would have to look up because there are maps there that are for pilots that it'll tell us what
But we still could get limited use. You could get limited use for restricted airspace from the state police. They could get that limited use. We ran into that in Utah when the EquiSearch went down to search for Dylan Rounds,
right.
and they were given permission to do drone searches at particular times. So that I call bullshit here as well. I mean,
Yeah. I was wondering though, with his leaf blower there, did he find any of those taillight lens parts that I'm having a brain fart now, that Miss McBride said was found by the body? Because I didn't see.
Yeah.
Jennifer McCabe there.
Yeah.
And photograph, I guess it could.
Let me back up and ask a different question. You testified about a year ago in another proceeding. You talked a little bit about the evidence collection of the biological material.
There we go, Ed. Here's your badge.
I'm guessing at that time, presumed blood.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
But you assumed it was blood just because of your experience and it looked like it could be blood on the street.
That's correct.
Alan Jackson is being nice to him by saying, because of your experience, but yeah, he really knows that he's got none.
How far were you from Canton PD? Approximately.
Mile and a half.
Mile. You had your cruiser with you.
I had my personal vehicle with me.
Your personal vehicle. In other words, your ambulance where you could get from point A to point B if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was the scene supervisor. I wasn't leaving the scene.
Okay. But you also had subordinate folks at the scene that you could have dispatched had you wanted to.
Correct.
They all had cruisers
Yes, they did.
or personal vehicles. I'm not sure which.
I'm sorry?
Or personal vehicles. I'm not sure which.
I was the only one with a personal vehicle. Detective Sergeant Lank had a Toyota Tundra pickup truck that is not marked, but it's assigned to our detective unit.
So if you wish to, as a ranking officer at the scene, you could have dispatched one or more of those officers to run an errand, to go do something and furtherance of the investigation had you wanted to.
Yeah, I actually did that.
Okay, you did. What did you do in that regard?
Remember, I sent Sergeant Good to get the leaf blower.
Got it. You also know that Canton PD has evidence collection bags at Canton PD.
Yes.
You also know that they have materials and tools to gather biological material, correct?
We do have swabs, yes.
And those swabs go in little containers to maintain their sanitary nature, correct?
That is correct.
In other words, if you see a blood stain, you don't just walk up with a Kleenex that you find on the ground and wipe it up. There's a blood stain. There's a process for gathering that type of evidence, correct?
Sure. If you're looking for DNA, you can use a bloody Kleenex, to your point.
Ed?
You could use a Kleenex to collect blood? Are you out of your freaking mind?
He's serious. He's
Where,
serious.
where does he get this shit from?
It'd be kind of an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. My point exactly.
But if you're a mile from the Canton PD,
Yeah,
you could have gone back and got the swab.
could have.
But you didn't.
What?
Didn't want
What
to.
emergency?
Because of the weather, because you just said because it's an
Yeah, he's saying because of the weather. And we saw with the leaf blower, there was no blowing snow. There wasn't what he describes as this nor'easter. I know it did develop into a nor'easter, and I know it was bad. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the video that memorialized his ridiculous leaf blowing showed us, and not many people talk about this. I think I'm the first to mention it, or at least that I know of. That video does not depict what Lieutenant Gallagher was describing that day. I mean, am I off base on this? I don't think so.
emergency, and we thought it was an emergency there. I mean, the storm was coming down terribly, and I believe if we didn't collect that biological matter, we weren't going to get that biological matter.
But Canton PD was a mile and a half away, 4 or 5 minutes.
In a blizzard.
Well, still, in a blizzard, I feel it's 3 minutes in good weather, probably 4, 5, 6 minutes in a blizzard, correct?
I'm not sure.
So let's call it 12, 15 minutes. You certainly could have done, if you wanted to, you could have dispatched one of your officers to go back and get swabs and properly collect the blood material.
Sure. And I believed 15 minutes would have made a difference.
And what you did instead.
Bloody Kleenex, to your point.
This is where Karen Reed writes down a note. I had to go back here and show you guys this. Watch Karen here. She writes a note and then tries to stick it on the back of this chair right here to get it to Alan Jackson. But she sees that it's not sticking to the fabric, and then she puts it on the table in front of Miss Little. I wonder what that little note was.
It'd be kind of an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. My point exactly.
But if you're a mile from the Canton PD,
Yeah,
you could have gone back and got the swab.
could have.
But you didn't.
Didn't want to because of the weather, because you just said because it's an emergency, and we thought it was an emergency there. I mean, the storm was coming down terribly, and I believe if we didn't collect that biological matter, we weren't going to get that biological matter.
Yeah,
But
she writes it down right
Canton PD
now.
was a
Look at
mile and a half
it.
away.
She's writing right here.
4 or 5 minutes.
In a blizzard.
Watch Karen
Still, in
Reed.
a blizzard, I feel it's
She's
3
writing
minutes.
a note
in
to Alan
good
Jackson.
weather, probably 4, 5, 6
And
minutes.
she
in a
tries to
blizzard,
put it on the
correct?
back of the chair right here.
I'm not sure.
So let's call it 12, 15 minutes. You certainly could have done, if you wanted to, you could have dispatched one of your officers to go back and get swabs and
Tries to
properly
stick it right
collect
there.
the blood material.
Sure. And
Doesn't stick.
I believed 15 minutes would have made
Puts
a
it right in
difference.
front of
And what you did
Attorney
instead
Attorney Little.
is Well, 15 minutes would have made a difference, but you asked Sergeant Good to drive to his house and get a leaf blower.
Yes, and while he was doing that, we were documenting the scene with photographs.
Where are these photographs they keep talking about? I haven't seen one of them yet.
Where's the photographs? Yeah. I'm hoping that Alan Jackson tomorrow hits him with where's these photographs that you testified to yesterday?
Now, the photographs, forensic standards, supposed to be long range, medium range, and close-ups with and without scales and evidence numbers. Did they do that? I don't think so.
Yeah. So Sandra says, sorry, guys, I know you're very invested in this, but I do believe Karen is guilty of hitting her boyfriend. Listen,
The science doesn't prove that. The science says the opposite. The science says there was no vehicle impact with John O'Keefe.
And Sandra, I respect your position on it, but again, we come from a different perspective here, and the science doesn't lie. The science doesn't lie, and this is not adding up. And if you pay attention to all these people that are testifying, none of them are being truthful. It really, out of all 6 witnesses today in day 9, the most believable witness was the ex-girlfriend, Heather Maxon. And if you're with me on this, and you know what I'm saying here, she came across as the most honest and forthright witness that was brought to the stand by the prosecutor today. Anybody else agree with me on that?
I believe so, but I believe her boyfriend was good too. And the nurse, Sarah, she was good too. I believe, they spoke truthfully. The others, not so much.
Right. All right. So let's listen. This is almost at the end. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon with your questions, and we'll take them. But Sandra, thank you for posting that. Again, please, nobody attack her for her position. Respect all sides here, but we are giving you it from our perspective, from an investigative standpoint. Listen, Ed has done this job. Many, over 2,500 crime scenes he's processed in his career. And I would have to argue that some of them were in the snow. Some of them were in very inclement weather, like driving rain, sleet, hail, snow. We work in the Northeast, and you can't process crime scenes in the most ideal situations. You have inclement weather, and it's just a fact of crime scenes.
And, the only thing I'm invested in is truth and justice. That's it. Truth and justice.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed.
Even if you went back and get a swab, what's the difference?
Because we were ongoing. It was ongoing. I wasn't leaving the scene.
I didn't ask you to leave the scene. I didn't ask if you were
I
leaving the scene.
needed the other officers. We talked about scene security. I already let 1 officer go. I now have 3 left.
And he also said that there was nobody out, nobody from the community, nobody from the houses. So how many cops do you need to secure a position in the front of 34 Fairview at the flagpole? How many cops does it take to secure that scene when you have nobody? There's no gawkers. There's no crowd gathering. There's no community unrest. There's nothing. There's nobody. As a matter of fact, the police officer who lives inside of 34 Fairview, Brian Albert, is bunkered down and not coming out and saying, what the F is happening in my front lawn? Why is there all these flashing lights? What is happening? No, he's not even coming out after it's alleged that Jennifer McCabe went in and walked right in his front door and right into his bedroom. He still didn't come out. He didn't step 1 foot outside of his house. So
We're securing that scene.
So you saw pink stains in the snow, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you said, "Officer Good, probably called Sean, Sarge, go home and get a leaf blower."
That is correct.
Could have said, "Officer Melanie, get your butt over to Canton PD and pick up 10 swabs," correct?
He wouldn't have had access to the swabs.
Oh, so now one of your officers should have gotten the swabs, even if the ranking lieutenant had dispatched him to go get a swab.
Because he doesn't have access to the BCI, the Office of BCI, where our stuff is kept.
Did you have made a phone call?
If you find, I just saw a comment go by about something about the crime scene. If you find somebody unresponsive that ultimately dies at the hospital, that's a police officer or that is not a police officer, and you don't have any explanation for it, that, my friends, are crime scene. That is you treat it as a crime scene. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but you treat that as a crime scene.
And if it turns out not to be a crime scene, no harm, no foul. If you don't treat it as a crime scene, which it wasn't done here, then you have the potential for all of this issues of not finding evidence, losing evidence, conspiracy theories, and so forth and so on.
All right, we're way past the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. We're going into overtime.
No, nobody there would have had access at that time. It was only Officer Dever on the desk.
So you're the only person that could have gotten those swabs?
Sergeant Lang could have gotten them as
Send
well.
Sergeant
Well,
Lang.
Sergeant Lang could have too.
Sure.
But you didn't send them.
No, definitely didn't.
What you did do, however, is you went to the neighbor's house. Happened to be Tom Keller.
The lieutenant of detectives, yes.
Right. And
Ed,
Lieutenant Keller,
explain to me how the lieutenant of the detectives, the main supervisor in charge of the Canton PD's detective bureau, did not come out of his house and say, what the fuck is going on across the street? Explain that to me, how that could be. And he knew that John O'Keefe, they all knew. This guy right here said it when I came up to the scene. My Sergeant Lang, told me that it was John O'Keefe, and I know who he is. Make it make sense.
gave you red solo cups.
Yes. I asked for plastic or glass containers. He had solo cups, and I utilized them.
The same kind of solo cups that we all see at backyard barbecues.
Yep, they hold liquid terrifically.
Terrifically.
They're also not sealed, correct?
They are not.
They're also not used normally. I mean, they were here. They're not normally used for evidence collection, correct?
Oh, absolutely not.
And then you decided you needed to transport that very important biological material back to Canton PD for storage and safety, right?
That's correct.
And why was it important to transport that blood material? So what are the factors that you considered, weighed and balanced in terms of getting that material back to Canton PD in good condition, sanitary condition?
So a criminalist could extract a proper DNA sample.
What would happen, for instance, if that blood material, I don't know, were contaminated?
Contaminated how?
You tell me, you're the professional.
So DNA is pretty hardy, pretty forensically stable.
Oh, shit.
DNA is pretty hardy, Ed.
Oh, it's hardy, huh?
Like a hearty cup of gravy.
Oh, my God. Oh, it's
Well, the
pretty
only
hardy.
thing
What forensic school taught you that, my friend?
harm or radiation, ultraviolet light, harsh chemicals such as bleach. That's not present here. I wasn't. Then you would have two sets of DNA when it's tested, which would benefit you.
Well, it depends on whose DNA
Oh,
is.
what an asshole.
That's correct.
Yeah,
So that would benefit you, Mr. Defense.
yes.
You used an unsterile cup that you have no knowledge of the integrity of the cup, and you put it in there, and you potentially cross-contaminated it. That's on you.
Holy crapola.
While you were, understand this. So obviously there's a reason why blood swabs or biological swabs are handled with such care. For instance, the DNA analysts are put on gloves.
Correct.
Oftentimes they're going to put on a mask. Right?
I don't know about that.
Oftentimes they put on goggles. Is that right?
It depends what they're testing.
Right.
Yeah.
Did he question about putting on booties and a mask? Is that what Alan Jackson just asked?
Yeah, depends on what they're testing.
When you go out and collect something, you'll see CSI, crime scene investigators, in full body suit when they walk into the crime scene.
Yeah, you can.
Because you don't want to contaminate the scene with your own hair off your arm or an eyelash falling into a blood stain, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So there are protocols. I mean, you said just a second ago, well, it's DNA. Unless somebody pours bleach in it, you're pretty much golden, right? The fact is,
And that's not quite what I said.
that's not quite what you said. If you were suggesting that it's hardy enough, that
That's exactly what he said.
it doesn't really matter
No.
It's contaminated or not. If there's multiple people's DNA, just benefits everybody.
No, I simply asked what you meant by contamination.
Okay. So it could be contaminated with debris.
Sure, it can.
It could be contaminated with other people's DNA.
It can.
It could be contaminated with foreign items, or either aerosols or somebody's still when they're talking, correct?
Sure.
It could be
Not-
contaminated with
Hypothetically,
right.
Hey.
Of course, these solo cups didn't have lids on them, right?
they did not.
They were open.
Yes.
You didn't photograph where you picked up the samples.
No.
You didn't document where you picked up the samples.
No.
So if the samples were in 6, how many solo cups were there?
6.
6 solo cups. We don't know as we sit here where each of those solo cups contents came from specifically, do we?
Specifically, no.
Okay. Then those solo cups with no lids were placed into a bag, right?
That's correct.
You said on direct examination that this was a brown paper bag, right?
It is. Stop and Shop, I believe.
And you said that Stop and Shop bag is, other than having the words Stop and Shop on it versus evidence on it, basically the one and the same thing.
Same dimensions, made out of the same materials, yes.
Right. But with an evidence bag, you know exactly where it came from and who's handling it.
Not necessarily.
Comes from the manufacturer,
Sure.
whose job it is to secure those bags so that they are not missing evidence, so they can have some sort of bona fides that they're clean and ready to accept evidence. In, say, for instance, I don't know, the investigation of a homicide of a police officer.
Okay.
Important stuff.
We're not at a homicide of a police officer at this point.
I'm just talking about evidence bags in general. Evidence bags in general. In other words, I'm trying to think about some of the most important investigations around. The manufacturers of those evidence bags manufacture them and send them in a way so that they're bona fides, that the provenance of those bags is maintained, correct, and protected.
That's
I just, Ed, I just can't, I know I've said this 15 times on this live stream. I just can't get over how nonchalant a lieutenant with the Canton Police Department, now retired, could say in front of a jury that we weren't at a homicide yet when I got there, when you have a dead Boston police officer on the front lawn of another police officer, and you have your lieutenant commander of your detective squad that lives right across the street. There's no going and saying, hey, this is nothing. This is just a routine. Someone died. He fell in the snow, or he tripped over the curb, as he starts to talk about with the curb, and he might have fell and cut himself on the glass and hit his like this guy. It's just shocking to me to hear him say this, and to take it to the least amount of investigation where it should be full tilt. Everything is on the table. Every possibility is on the table. And yes, you should treat it. If you found a dead police officer on your front lawn, how would you classify that as? Would you be like, oh, well, this is just a terrible accident? No. And look, we got Lieutenant Joseph Cardinale, who is a commanding officer of major case in housing and in the NYPD. He says, this is a retired NYPD. We've had him on with us. Joseph Cardinale, thank you for the comment. I am disgusted that a cop lost his life and they have nothing to show for it. And if there was any crime committed, they have not shown one iota of professionalism throughout this case. This comes from an NYPD lieutenant, same rank as this guy right here, but a very, very professional police department, the NYPD. Thank you, Lieutenant. And you know, we'd love to have you come back on with us at your next spare moment that you have to talk about this. Ed, any thoughts?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, 100%. You can't compare Joe to this clown. The clown is Barney Fife, and Joe is top tier. All right, top tier squad commander. Are you kidding me? Not even close.
That's the way they ship them, yes.
And Canton PD pays extra money for that very purpose.
I'm sure they do, yes.
You mentioned almost tongue in cheek, look, except for closed.
Yes.
There's a reason that there's a price difference, right?
What would the reason? What's the reason?
Well,
Oh my God.
Sense.
Did you hear what he said? He said there's a reason why there's a price difference between a forensic paper bag and the Stop and Shop bag. And he said, what's the reason? Because you're paying for the manufacturer to say the bag is clean, the bag is contamination free, the bag is sealed, okay? So that none of the evidence can slip through any cracks and get out of the bag.
And Ed, that you're not putting evidence in a bag that held lettuce, open lettuce, or a broken tomato. Like there's could be all different kinds of contaminants inside of some random Stop and Shop bag that the squad lieutenant that runs your detective bureau goes and gets in the middle of the night and gives it to you, or in the early morning hours. And here's 4 solo cups that my son played beer pong with. Here you go. Have a good time with those. Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oops. Where it's been, or again, right? Really don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they price it because of how they package it. I don't have any knowledge of that.
The other one that mentioned the price.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I'm sorry, we're speaking over each other. Okay.
I apologize.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallagher, you gotta wait.
Yep.
There's a reason. My point is there's a reason, right?
Yes.
The evidence bags are more expensive because there is a way they're manufactured and they're taken care of, and Canton PD is willing to pay that extra price like every other law enforcement agency because of that, correct? All right. So they're not quite the same, are they?
No.
Those solo cups were placed in the evidence bag uncovered.
Yes.
The evidence bag was then placed in Sergeant Lank's vehicle.
It was closed and Sergeant Lang transported it to his vehicle. Yes.
Okay. When you say closed, you mean the top of it was rolled up?
Correct.
Or folded over?
Correct.
Okay. It wasn't forensically sealed.
Not at that time, no.
There was no evidence tape that went on it.
Not at that time, no.
Matter of fact, the cups were still open and could slosh around. Assume they melted.
Yes.
There's liquid blood and liquid water, like
That's correct.
snow.
That's correct.
And you indicated that those were, at least you believe, those were placed in an evidence locker, temporary evidence locker, correct?
No, the blood samples were put in a refrigerated unit.
My mistake. I thought the refrigerator was the temporary storage locker.
Yes, lockers are not refrigerated. That's where the glass would go into a locker.
Okay. This was placed into an evidence refrigerator.
That's correct.
That was to maintain the integrity of the sample, the biological sample inside the cups, correct?
That's correct.
This guy's losing
You
his
have an
voice.
evidence log.
I don't know.
You've never seen an evidence log indicating that those were actually put into a refrigerated evidence log.
I removed them myself, so I know they were in the refrigerated unit
When did you remove them?
on February 1st.
Right.
Okay, but who put it in the refrigerator? That's part of the chain of custody that you
Yeah, he
don't
said-
have.
He said the sergeant brought them. He didn't confirm who put them in, but he said the sergeant brought them to the precinct.
And that's why you're supposed to have a document that
Lot.
shows who collected it, what date and time, and then who they gave it to, and who transported it to that facility, who took it in, the date and times on all of that, and who put it in the refrigerator. All of that has to have a date and time stamp and a name attached to it. And we don't have that here.
Ed, our good friend Rhino Girl, sends in 100. She says Ed's worst nightmare for sure. This department failed. Police Officer John O'Keefe, 100%.
Shakram.
Yeah, there you go. Ed's showing off with his language. All right, let's get to the super chats and the super stickers. Jackie, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Best Gun Losing Detective sends in 5 and says, we thought we were going to have to do a wellness check on Ed today. Yeah, everybody was worried about you all day long. Mama She, thank you for being a member. She says, hey, DutyRon and Ed, hope you are both well. Schmitty's here, member for, gosh, over 42 months. Ed, I want to give you a big hug right now. So there's your big hug from Schmitty. Reality with Krista Marie says, oh, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for becoming a member. Why did Amy says, why did he prefer the boss across the street not to come to the scene? Is there a reason for Brian Albert not to come outside? We were shaking our heads, Amy. That's the detective commander across the street. Why would he not want him there? You would, as this lieutenant who was way out of his league, he should have said, you know what? Get up, please. I need your help. I got something I can't handle. The best thing that this guy could have done that he didn't do is say, hey, I'm in over my head and I need somebody with experience. He couldn't call his best detective because that's the homeowner's brother. He couldn't call Kevin Albert. He knew that he couldn't call him because there's a dead Boston cop on the front lawn of his brother, Brian Albert. Thank you for becoming a member. DK, thank you for a member for 13 months. This trial. This is a non-investigation. Absolutely. We ain't got no quit. Free Karen Reed became a YouTube member. Thank you for becoming a member. Emily, very first channel member here. Ed, 5 years plus. I appreciate you, and so does Ed, and we all appreciate you here.
We salute you.
Yeah. Amen. Rotundo Beach, thank you for the 2. Wait until cross. He's offended.
That's another thing. They keep saying he kept saying that he was let me get the right word, unattended. He kept calling it
death, an unattended death.
Unattended death. And then Brennan was saying something totally different.
Right. Hey, those of you who have voted in the poll, we would have put a poll up, 2,600 votes. Did the Canton PD fail crime scene evidence collection? That was an easy one and a no-brainer. I asked Kristen to do that just to keep you guys in the loop, and an astounding 97% said yes, and I think 3% said no, just to be funny. So only 3% said that the Canton PD didn't fail the crime scene evidence. They thought that they did a good job, 3%. So go over there and vote. Now it's swelled to 2,700. Let's see if we can get over 3,000 votes on the poll. It's rising as we speak, and thank you everyone for participating. Dirty Hanky sends in a 10 and says, Dear Ed and Ron, I love law enforcement, but this is a mockery. And he is paid over $300K a year. How are Canton salaries so high and more than our New York City? Everywhere is higher than New York City. We're starting to catch up a little bit, but I mean, heck, Ed, what was the starting? When I started, it was $24,900 a year, $24,900 when I started in 1991. So you must have started a little bit lower than that.
No, it was not. Actually, it was higher.
Yeah, mine was.
We had that contract that dropped it, that you guys were eligible for food stamps and welfare.
Right, but you came on before me, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So there we go. I could have applied for food stamps and welfare with the salary that I started out with in 1991.
That's right.
But I definitely wasn't in it for the money, because if that was the case, I wouldn't have stayed. But I did 20 years and retired. Claire D, thank you for the 5. She said, I wish Alan could get a hold of Ed. All this knowledge would be wonderful on the stand, because it really is a shit show. That was part of motions. Bev denied the defense to bring in experts, I found out today.
Yeah, an FBI expert.
Yeah, so Ed wouldn't even be able to be hired by the defense, shockingly enough. They couldn't bring Ed in. And if he did come in, he definitely would help them. There's no question.
Yeah, but Brennan and Judge Bev wouldn't let me in.
But I'm saying they agreed that the prosecution's witnesses are enough, that the defense doesn't need to get their own experts to refute, that they can just cross-examine them. And that's not fair, but that's this whole thing. Tina Williams, member for over 20 months, confession, but not investigation for a crime. Confession, but not investigation for a crime. Emily, thank you for the 5 gifted membership. She does that every time. Thank you so much, Emily. That's so generous of you. And welcome to the new members. Amy sends in 5 and says, Injustice. This is a shit show, and he makes a mockery of your profession. Mark Betterow is representing Turtle Boy. Thank God he's got him. Love you both. Thank you for that. Thank you. And I agree that we said it. This is a black eye for law enforcement across the country, but it's not indicative of how the good guys operate. Jazzy Girl 1968, that was a good year. Member for 1 month. Could the cups have been used to cover the blood spots from the falling snow, Ed?
I would accept that if the cups never touched the blood, and and just to protect it, because as we said earlier, we've had this happen, and Ron has done it himself. Right?
Yeah,
Right. I have no problem altering the crime scene to preserve the evidence. Okay. By, so long as the cup doesn't touch the blood and it's just covering it, first, obviously you should look in it and make sure there's no hairs or anything that's going to drop in, no contents. Right. But I could accept that to a degree. Okay. But not this, not putting it in the cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's Rebecca Jones coming in with the $10 Canadian. She says, anytime a serious incident occurs, any road super on my calls, ADD, there's a report statement to file, but he says he doesn't have to as a super, what the fuck? Anti-Bev denied the defense here. Just she's saying it right here. Anti-Bev denied the defense, their police policy expert. Just unbelievable. Lisa, thank you for being a member. For gifting membership. That's very kind of you. Thank you. $10 from the Lone Wolf. I feel these cops knew what they were supposed to do and didn't do it on purpose. I don't get that vibe. I feel like this guy just was way in over his head and didn't know what was going on. Maybe somewhere down the road with the investigation, once Proctor got involved and all the players, possibly. But I don't see this lieutenant risking his $330,000 or $350,000 a year police pension to try to commit a crime, and that would be a crime.
There's a lot of shady shit going on with this. I mean, you have people who left that party that went to the police department right after the party.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And they weren't scheduled to be there. They weren't scheduled to work at that time. And they probably were hammered too, to be,
Yeah, it seems like everybody in Canton drinks and drives and are hammered. But Lone Wolf, you're not too far off, because there's just too much shade going on here. And who knows how deep the corruption is here. But I really, it's sad. It's a sad situation. Brady, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And thank you to everyone who's given super chats and stuff like that. Krista Marie, thank you. So many of these cops here and nobody stopped to say, hey, what the fuck what are we all doing here? We have a crime scene and a half-dead cop on the lawn of a dark house. Another cop not coming out. What the fuck is this? Yeah, and that's surprising too, Krista Marie, is like, that's what I said. I would be like wanting to make sure everybody inside that house is okay. And they cross-examined Jennifer McCabe and said, don't you think that your sister's not answering the phone? Yeah, it's the middle of the night. We get it. But there's lights flashing all over the place. You call your sister twice and there's a dead person on her front lawn. Aren't you worried that she's dead and that her husband's dead and that everybody in the house is dead? Well, for that reason, I wouldn't want her going and running in there. But wouldn't you want to say, hey, cops, go and check on my sister because I can't get a hold of her?
Hey, guys, I want to give you some homework. All right. I thought I heard sirens on one of these dash cam videos of an emergency vehicle, possibly the fire department or emergency medical services, whether it was the ambulance or a fire truck, approaching the scene in one of the dash cam videos of the police cruisers that were there before EMS and fire got there. So if you could do me a favor, do some research, look at the footage for
send it to DutyRon.com, right?
Right. That was used in the trial, the footage that was used in the trial. And if you find it, send it to us. All right. Yep. Because they keep saying there was no sirens, but I swear to God, in one of those dash cam videos that were used in trial, I heard sirens. So please take a look and then send it to DutyRon.com.
I know I'll get some stuff in the mail in the morning. Amy, thank you for the 5. John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer, one of their own. He wasn't part of the Canton Police Department, but he was part of Boston PD. He deserves much better. The whole world is watching you do better. Absolutely. I'm with you, Amy, 100%. Harry, me boy, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Mickey Duff, thank you for being a member, 34 months. Thank you, DutyRon and Ed. No, thank you. We appreciate you. Kathy, thanks for the 2. Couldn't that leaf blower blow away dog hair? Oh,
absolutely, 100%.
Thank you again, Mickey Duff, for the $10. And Schmitty sends in 5. DutyRon and Ed, only go 30 more minutes if you can handle the agony of this. The dude takes no pride in his job. We well exceeded 30 minutes. We're on 2 hours now. We're doing 2 hours. Darth Mac, thank you for the 2. Frank Debrin is rolling in his grave. Anybody that has anything to do with investigation should be rolling in their grave. Oblivious Benson sends in 10. Food for thought. Brian Albert was the best surveillance expert for his work on catching Philip Markoff, serial killer, and he never saw the dead cop on his own front lawn. Best surveillance expert? Question mark, question mark. Oblivious Benson, always on the case and always paying attention. Grifting Gamer sends in 5 and says, they know none of this was okay. Now it's pretend to be special needs to avoid culpability for the frame job. One dirty cop can create more quickly. Yeah, I mean, I respect all sides and all opinions, and I appreciate the support. And yeah, you could very well be right. Melissa, thanks for the 10. How would he know if a mortally wounded guy on the lawn didn't just murder everyone in that home? That's what I was just saying. He didn't knock on the door. It'll tell you how he was told before he arrived on the scene. Possibly. We'll never know. We'll never know. But we could glean that from the way everyone's being so shady, you know?
The first officers on scene should have checked that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Knocking on not only the 34 Fairview, but the 2 houses on either side and the 2 houses across the street. And one of them happened to be the detective lieutenant commander of the Canton PD squad.
How do you look at those injuries on John O'Keefe? And like this lieutenant kept saying his medical condition or his, what kind of medical issue he was having. Okay. It's very simple. You look at these wounds and these injuries and you look around and you don't see anything that's matching.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what are you left to deal with? Okay. It's a suspicious assault, likely to die.
Yeah.
And he treated as a crime scene.
This Lieutenant Gallagher, I'm thankful that he retired, but I would never want a crime to be committed against me, my family members, or anybody that I know that lives in Canton. And if I lived in Canton, I would be very worried about my police department, seeing that there's a 32-year guy. This guy spent 32 years on that police department. I'm shocked. I just can't believe it. MK Connecticut, thanks for the super chat. I cannot figure this guy out. Is he just stupid? Emily, thank you for the 5. I'll take things you shouldn't do for 1,000, please, Alex.
The answer is?
May he rest in peace. Thank you, Kat, for gifting 1 membership. Much appreciated. Best Gun Losing Detective 2. Can you get an FAA approval for the drone? Yes, we said that. We could. Rose sends in $2. Gallagher equals Timu MacGyver. I love these super chats. Thank you for becoming a member as well. I think we're getting close. Totbox Bronx. I don't know if Karen is guilty or not, but this investigation was so bad that it casts doubt. Their incompetence and carelessness makes it a challenge to convict. Absolutely.
And let's not forget, folks, we shouldn't be in this trial at all right now because of the double jeopardy. She was acquitted by that previous jury of 2 of the 3 charges. And because of the way Bev handled that jury with the deadlock, and they didn't poll the jury and they didn't give good instructions that they could have put those verdicts down on the form and give it to her where they would have been deadlocked on 1 charge, we're in this court again. Now,
guess what, Ed? I'm sorry to keep that thought, but I just wanted to talk about that double jeopardy. Just so you guys all know that you're here, Judge Elizabeth Shearer is going to join us. I sent her an email today. She's going to join us to talk about this double jeopardy and talk about some of the rulings of Judge Beverly Canone. I hope that you guys will tune in on that live stream. It's going to be coming soon. So stand by. She was the judge who overseen the Parkland shooter trial. It was a difficult trial, but I think she handled herself pretty well there. And we're going to have her on as a guest. She's got her own YouTube channel. And her last main clerk in Florida was a retired NYPD detective. So she told me that in our correspondence. And she was like, oh, yeah, I would love to come on and do your show. So she's coming. Ed, what were you going to say? And
Well, I was saying that the prosecutor has the discretion whether or not to proceed with this trial, but both judge and the prosecutor know that the jury acquitted, but yet they're still pushing forward with this persecution, not prosecution.
yeah, persecution. You said it well. Thank you, Emily, for gifting a membership. Carrie, thank you for the $2 Red Solo Cup contamination party. Oh, hell yeah. He's just plain dumb, says Shelly. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's for sure. I don't know if he's dumb. He seems like he, if he's not talking about this, he can speak well, but he's not speaking well when it comes to this stuff. Bayou Babe, thank you for the super sticker, I believe that is. Thank you. Timothy, thank you for the $2. It was great. I appreciate it. Rhino Girl, we got that one. Ed's worst nightmare. The department failed you, Police Officer John O'Keefe. Amen. Redondo Beach said, I emailed you about the botched strangulation investigation. I did get that. We got a lot going on, and plus Ed and I also both work full-time jobs. We're going to look into that. I'm going to forward that to Ed soon. Grifton Gamer again with 10. I've spent 15 years as a fire EMS, switched to the blue 2 years ago. I can't attribute this to incompetence. This is purposeful. One pod drunk agency, maybe. State police too, with that many Brady violations. Yeah.
One podunk. Yeah. It's a podunk agency.
Yep. There you go. Thank you for that. And stay safe out there, Grifton Gamer. Stay safe. Cherry and Max, thank you for 5. I was small potatoes PO and I'm outraged. Can't imagine how hard it hits Ed and Ron. Yeah. Well, you know what? Look, I'm sure that you did the job right, and hopefully your department took a little bit more pride than this guy took in investigating a death and ultimately a murder of a fallen police officer from another agency. 3,001 votes in did the Canton PD fail crime scene evidence collection? 97% holding strong, and there's still 3% of people who are being silly. Mettenmine MY. Wait a minute, Ed. Why am I saying this wrong?
It's.
Anyways, 1979. Thank you for the 5. Thanks, guys, for your insight. Sorry, I botched up your name. It's getting late. Thank you for becoming a new member, Solus. Thank you, Yarn Barf. Oh man, she never lets us down. Member for 33 months. Much respect to you both. We love you. We appreciate you, Yarn Barf. Caged on the inside, new member. Thank you for becoming a new member. Brenda, thank you for the 10. Canton PD needs to get accredited by. They're a total mess. I worked in law enforcement as an analyst, and I knew of the leaders just like him, not the brightest bulbs in the box. Maddening. It's just maddening how he was able to coexist for 32 years. I guarantee you he didn't process one crime scene or had nothing to do with any kind of investigation at all. Mimi Viz for the 20. Thank you for the super chat. So many issues with this mess of a case. Mimi Viz, thank you for being here for so long. Thank you for supporting with our boys from California City, Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and Classic. She was one of the many women who supported every month for that $1,500 billboard to be up in Bakersfield, California. So Mimi Viz, I'll never forget you, and I love you, and I thank you for your kind heart and generous donations that you did every month after month. So thank you. Little Misfit, $5. And where is all the rest of the blood? John was missing a lot. Yeah, Ed, we could talk about that all day, right?
That's right. That's right.
Melanie Little sent me, thanks for your coverage. Thank you, CM. I hope you subscribe. We love Melanie, and she's going to be right back at it tomorrow morning. 7-8 hours, whatever it takes. She's going to be covering it. Melanie's Cupcakes, Posse, Sherilyn, thank you for the 2. House to bleed on snow. Thank you. Rhino Girl again with 100. Bev's brother represented Chris Albert when he took out a Hungarian student with his car. He fled the scene. Bev needs to be investigated. Petition on change.org to get her investigated. Yeah, I read about that her brother's a lawyer and that her brother represented Chris Albert. I didn't look far into it, but I did see it. Thank you for that, Rhino Girl. Coexist. Thank you for the 10. I feel like because of the decisions, Karen Reed should be able to sue for all her legal fees if she gets a not guilty. Absolutely. Absolutely. Teal and Violet, thank you for the 5. Didn't cops assume it was an alcohol poisoning? Thus, why investigate? And reason to keep it on the down low and not take too much evidence? No.
How did they account for the injuries?
Yeah, he was beaten as the medical examiner said, looked like he went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. So I don't think so. I don't think those assumptions fly. Angela, thank you for being a member for 26 months. You guys always provide the best shows. We try. I'm tired. I know I'm going to pay the price for this tomorrow. Barbara Brady, thank you for becoming a member. CM, thank you for the 2 thoughts on no frostbite. I think on his death certificate, it said death by blunt force trauma and hypothermia. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but I think I remember seeing that. So,
I know there was some complications due to hypothermia, but definitely was the blunt force trauma.
Okay, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Let's take a couple of questions and then wrap it up because we're over 2 hours now. Anybody have any questions that we can answer out quick? I think we answered them all. This was a marathon, 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we needed to do it. We needed to cover this, and it was really important. Ed, thank you for hanging in. Ed, did you lose something? Your bag?
My bag.
Oh, here we go. Embarrassed. Let's see. Any questions? That's what I'm looking for. Questions. So, Honeybee says questions. Bueller. I think I have a Bueller button. Where is it?
Yeah, you do.
Where is it?
Hey, do you have that?
Bueller.
Hold on.
Bueller.
We can't let this go by without this.
Did you get that chat I sent you?
I did. I don't have that handy.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna show that and tell these people why I'm so pissed off about this. Is I spent all this time and years of training and certifications to do what I do, to have this lieutenant make a mockery of my disciplines.
Yeah. Look at this one. Once a crime scene is corrupted, does that make doubt? Would that create doubt?
100%.
100%. 3,076 votes and counting. It keeps going up. 97% said yes. Did the Canton PD fail the crime scene evidence collection in this case? 97% said yes. 3% said no. The votes are swelling to 3,100. Let's look. Any other questions? Oh, hashtag DutyRon, Curious Chronicles. Do you think Bev will face any investigation for her blatant bias towards the defense? No, I don't. Do I think that she deserves to get some kind of investigation or some type of, maybe reprimand? Yes, but I answer no to that.
I say the feds are watching. I always feel like somebody's watching me.
What's my next one?
Stop breathing down my neck.
Ed. All right. Corruption runs deep. All right. Let's end this on a high note. I like to always say, this is, again, this is travesty of justice, but I send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the O'Keefe family, to Police Officer John O'Keefe. May he continue to rest in peace. But I know right now he's watching this and is possibly crying inside, because this is a travesty of justice, what his fellow brothers in blue, and I hope and pray to God that this never happens again. I hope and pray that this is a one-time thing that we see as it pertains to a botched investigation like this. But unfortunately, people like this lieutenant exist out there, and it pays the price for it, the victim and his family. So it's sad. Ed, final words.
Okay, folks, thanks for hanging with us for over 2 hours. 2 hours and 20 minutes to be exact, right? We can get your true crime fix anywhere on YouTube you like. But thanks for supporting us. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us as well. As always, be safe, be prepared, and watch your six.
Amen, brother. Well said, Ed. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to wish everybody a good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the replay viewers, the super chatters, 3,106 votes. You can get a couple more votes in before we end this. And then I'll ask Kristen if she's still watching or if she fell asleep to just end that. You know what, Ed? I want to end it because I want to end the votes so this way everybody could see it. So just give me 2 seconds. Hold on. Hold on, Ed.
I'll give you more than 2 seconds.
Oh my. All right. So let me get on here and end this without making double feedback. I'm always good for that. All right, here it is. The poll has 3,116 votes. Anybody else want to get a vote in there real quick? 3,116 votes, and I'm going to end it right. Oh, ad block just blocked me, so now I can't do it.
What?
Yeah, I have an ad block on here. So this way the ads don't come up when we're showing stuff. So ad block, I got to shut that off. Thank you, Josh. Josh hooked all this up for me. So I always have to override some of the things. Okay, 3,130 votes, 97% say yes, 3% say no. I'm going to end it right now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end poll. Now it'll populate and it will be in the chat. All right, so did Canton PD fail the crime scene evidence? 97% said yes, 2%. Oh, we got it down to 2%. Polls completed, 3,100 and some odd votes. So thank you all for participating. We love you. We appreciate you. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we say good night and God bless. Peace, guys.